Hey guys, today I'm going to be showing you how to install a handlebar shutoff switch on a small engine. Stay tuned. In my case, I'm working on a 3 horsepower Briggs Stratton 4-cycle engine. However, the same process will apply in most cases. So this motor was originally taken off of a grass edger, and the way to shut that one off was to lower the throttle all the way down to the lowest position where it would connect to the ground and ground out the spark plug. In our case, we're going to be installing this on a mini bike, and ideally we don't want to have to lower the throttle all the way down just to be able to turn the motor off. So today we're going to be installing this handlebar shutoff switch. All this switch does is an open and closed circuit between these two wires. One wire is going to be connected to the coil, the other wire is going to be grounded to the block of the motor. So just to get a better understanding of how this switch works, I'm just going to take my multimeter on set to continuity and figure out which one of these buttons is on and off. Okay, so right now I have the small button depressed. I'm just going to connect these 2 points together. And I've currently got no continuity. So I'm just going to press the larger of the buttons. And now I've got good continuity. And just flipping that switch off again, we can see that this is in the run position, and our large button is the shut off switch. So the first thing that we need to do is take off this front recoil cover to get access to the coil. And to take off these covers, it's usually just 3 bolts, one on the top and then one on each side at the bottom. Alright, now that we have those 3 bolts removed, this front cover should come sliding right off. Now, right here is our coil, and coming from the back side of the coil, we have this wire right here. So this wire is hooked up right to our throttle here. So you can see there's a little contact point in there. When this reaches all the way down and makes contact with that point, and at that point, the spark plug will be grounded out and will shut off. So we're just going to remove that wire from here. Okay, so now that I have this wire removed, I'm just going to reroute it behind the coil so that it's pointing out in the direction of my handlebars. So with the wire routed to this side, I need to find a way to route it out so that it has a gap to come out through the front cover. If you'd like, you could drill a hole in the side cover for this wire to come out through. However, I'm just going to route this out the same indent that's made for the spark plug to come through. While I was shopping for one of these switches online, I couldn't seem to find a switch that had a longer wire than 17 inches. So I ended up just purchasing the 17-inch wire with the switch, and I have another 2 wires. They're about 3 feet long each, and this should give me more than enough wire to make it from the coil all the way up to the handlebars. This switch did come with a plug type connection. However, I'm not going to be using this, and instead I'm just going to be using some quick disconnect crimp connectors. So that being said, I just need to remove the current crimp connectors. Once I have my switch wires prepped, I'll prep my extension wires here. Now I'm going to take 2 of these male disconnect connectors and crimp them down to my switch wires. Now on my extension wires, where my switch is going to be connected to, I'll use my female crimp connectors for those wires. With the other end of one of my extension wires, I'm going to be putting a male crimp connector on this end. This end of the wire will be connecting to our coil wire with a female connection, just like this. Now that I have my wires prepped, I need to find a spot where I can ground the other end of my switch to, which will ground out the spark plug. So to do that, again, I'm going to take my multimeter, set it to continuity, and I'm just going to make contact with the original point that was grounding out this machine. And over here where I've already taken one of the bolts out from the front cover, I'm just going to check that for good continuity to make sure this will be a good ground. And that looks like that'll be a good grounding point. So now that I know I have my grounding point here, I need to find a connector that will fit around the bolt. I have this connector here, fits around this bolt just right. So that's what I'll use for this one. Okay. So we've got connectors added to all of our wires. At this point we can start putting everything together. So the first connections I'm going to make are going to be connecting the switch wires with our extension wires. And for this application, it does not matter which wire is going to the coil and which wire is going to my ground. Now I'll take my male connector and connect it to my coil wire. And since my final wire is going to be connecting in with one of the bolts that holds in the front recoil cover, I'll go ahead and install that as well. And while I'm installing this cover, I'm just making sure that my coil wire is still coming out where the spark plug is. I'm just replacing the 3 bolts. Now before tightening down this last bolt here, I'll be sure to come back in with my wire connector and get that in place. There we go. And just as one final test, I have the switch in the off position. So with that being said, I should have continuity from this coil wire down to this bolt, which I do. All right, let's test this out. Okay, now I have the small button pushed in, which should be in run. Let's give it one more try. Small switch is pushed. So it should be in run now. There we go. The last thing to do is mount the switch to the handlebars and we should be good to go. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe and stay tuned for more videos.